G'day, FMCurtis Master John Curtis, and have I got a great game for you today on YouTube. I'm going to share with you a game I played just 1 or 2 days ago against the 2023 World Chess Champion LIREN bot, right, at chess.com. And my rating performance for that game was 2,800. And I used psychology against the artificial intelligence bot by using LIREN's own favourite weapon, the Queen's Gambit, against him, right? And I studied these games throughout the World Championship, and I've noticed that the pattern that's there, and I reciprocated that pattern using his own techniques, as I say, against him, where he builds a good, solid, safe position, doesn't push it to its limits, and hopes his opponent overreaches. And I'm going to explain it to you move by move, so that you too can beat a world chess champion. Anyone can do it. It's just a matter of applied science. You know, you've got to apply the science of understanding your opponent and how they think and what techniques they use and how they intend to try to destroy you, to break your will. Okay, but in my game, my will was not broken and the world champion could make no further inroads against me. And without further ado, I'm going to get into the game. So there we go. Here we go. So I'm going to go into the chess.com analysis board, and I'll show you that the games were played at a rate of, here we go, wait for it, whoops, sorry, at a rate of 97.8% accuracy on my part, and Super Grandmaster 97.9% accuracy on the part of the world champion bot LIREN. Okay, right, so here we go. We're going to get into this game. And I'll also show you the rating performance. Here we go. This is the rating performance. 2,800. And the chess.com coach said the game was pretty competitive. The opening was balanced. It was an incredible middle game by both players, including myself and the world champion. And both players had incredible precision in the end game, right? Mark my words there. Incredible precision in the end game, where Ding tried to bust me. He tried to crack me. He tried to break my will, but he couldn't do it. And so I'm going to show you how you too can play like me. And I'm going to give you a move-by-move description of the game. Right, so now we're going to get back into this game. And here we go. We're going to get the board set up. There we are. And now we're going to get this game underway. Going to get this game underway. Okay, I opened up with d4 because this is LIREN's favourite opening, right? It's LIREN's favourite opening, d4. And the chess.com coach says opening with the queen's pawn controls the centre. It controls the centre and leads to a more positional development of the pieces. And this is what LIREN's style is all about. So I decided to use LIREN's own weapons against him, as I said earlier. He played knight to f6, our Ding, and this is the move that I always play against d4. So Ding and I are quite similar, really, in our opening choice. I played c4. I thought, no, we're going to play a classic queen's pawn because that's what Ding plays. And one thing I believe, as far as using psychology against my opponent, whether it be a human or a artificial intelligence, is that you try to use their own weapons against them. He played e6. Now I know that it's possible he could go into a Bogo Indian, a sharp Bogo Indian with bishop b4 check. And so I played this move a3. Now you might say, well, hold on, aren't you supposed to develop your knights to f3? Right, to f3 and in the queen's pawn, or knight to c3? Yes is the answer, but the reason for my move a3, it's a book move, right? And the position is considered equal, as you can see by the bar on the side of the board. The reason I choose a3 is because I have the white pieces and the advantage of the first move. And I use the psychology of the fact that a sharp Bogo Indian can't be played against me. Once I play a3, there is no bishop to b4 check. Remember, I have the first move in the game. My opponent played bishop e7, right, because he can't give me the check. And now I just play simply knight to c3, right? A simple queen's pawn, develop my knight out and support my centre. Centre straight away, the world champion Ding Liren challenges the centre with a star move by the chess.com. Anyway, the chess coach at chess.com says of this star move, he says, this strikes at the centre, countering the opponent's ability to grab space. So that's right. So if he just played passively and castled in this position, had he played passively and castled, I would have played e4. I would have played e4 had he just castled, right? But that wasn't the case. He played d5, the best move on the board. So I played e3 and supported my pawn structure. Now we have a really balanced game. And that's shown by the bar on the evaluation bar on the side of the board. Castles, black castles, completes his development. Star move, it's the best move. And when the chess.com artificial intelligence analyses our game here, it rates our game at 98% accuracy or thereabouts, both Ding's game and mine. And the engine says that castling in this position, says castling gets the king to a safer square out of the centre of the board while developing a castle. Castling kingside tends to be safer than castling queenside. See, this is what Ding's all about, a safe game. Because the king is further from the centre, right? So it's further from the action, so it's less likely to get checkmated. Knight to f3 is played by me. So it's a book move, it's a developing move. And now I only have one move to be able to castle. I've got to move my bishop on f1 and then I'll be able to castle. And by playing knight to f3, the coach at chess.com says it develops a knight of its starting square. It gets the knight into the action. And this is the Indian game. Right, it's the East Indian defence opening, and I've played this game 120 times with a 57% win ratio. B6 is now played. Now, in this position here, black looks at the position and says, well, my worst piece on the board is this bishop. It's got no scope. So what Ding says, typical of a world champion, he says, I've got to play b6 to give my bishop some scope, try to get a diagonal and activate my worst placed piece. And that way Ding gives his knight the options of going here, here or here. He's got options. So he's leaving those options open. Depending on what move I make, he will reply in kind. So I played bishop d2. That's right. It's an inaccuracy. It's not the right idea, but there's a reason for it. Right? The reason is just simply to develop my position, and to be able to play rook c1 and put pressure on the C file. Okay, and this rook activation will come in really important later in the game. And when it does come on later in the game, I'll remind you of this time when I reflected and played bishop to d2, contrary to what the artificial intelligence tells you, right? Bishop to b7, right? And now I played rook to c1. Again, I've got a reason for this. The artificial intelligence doesn't like it, says it's not the best move. So he played c5, Ding plays c5. He wants to put pressure, right, tension in the centre on the pawns, and to be able to exchange at the same time to basically try to get an advantage from the position, should I allow him to do so. And if he can gain a tempo, well, then effectively Ding, the world champion, would be white and I would be black, and he would slowly crush me. However, I played pawn takes pawn. That's right. I played C takes D. I played consistently with my idea of putting the rook on the C file. And I liquidate the centre to remove the tension that Ding wanted to create. Okay. Ding takes with the pawn. It's the best move. Right, and there's a reason why it's the best move. It's about the only move. If he takes with the knight, he loses control of the position somewhat after I capture his c-pawn. And he doesn't want to lose control. He wants to maintain those two pawns here on c5 and d5 and try to have a spatial advantage. See how he's controlling these two squares on my side of the board. I'm only controlling one square on his side of the board. I played bishop e2, so I've completed my development now. I can simply castle. There are a few other mitigating factors in the position. If you want to analyse the position, it's pluses and minuses, or it's positives and negatives, and the balance that's there. One system is that of analysing his position the bishops are key in the position. It's a semi-closed position. That is, the bishops have not got a lot of freedom at the moment. And so this pawn structure on black squares is good for this bishop here, right? But unfortunately, I've got pawns on black squares too. Right, remember my a3 I told you about earlier as a preventative move? It's coming into play now, and I've got one other pawn. So I've got every one of my pawns on black squares, which means that my most powerful piece is probably this bishop here. Right, that bishop is my most powerful piece. My worst placed piece is this bishop on d2, right? And now black's worst piece would be the bishop on e7, because that bishop on e7, his pawns are on black squares. It stops or temporarily immobilizes the activity of the black bishop. So he played knight to d7. He didn't want to play knight d7. He didn't want to block his bishop. If he played knight there, he sort of blocks his bishop a bit. So I simply castled and completed my development, and the position, according to the chess engine, black is better. There you go. So the world champion's got a better position than me, right? Okay. But do you think I'm phased with that? No. Don't worry about the artificial intelligence. Don't worry about the world chess champion Ding Liren. He played knight to e5. He's trying to capitalise on his spatial advantage. And so what do? I simply take his pawn. That's right. I can't. It'd be very bad to take his knight and to let his spatial control increase by putting a pawn. Oops, by putting a pawn. If I took the knight here, he'd recapture with the pawn, and he'd have additional space and more mobility for his bishops. I want to limit that mobility, and so that's why I play pawn takes pawn. I liquidate the centre first. Now if he takes with the c pawn, I've got a target. Remember, I put my rook on here, on this there. So I've still got activity. Ding recognises that. He should take with the pawn, but he took with the knight. It's a slight inaccuracy, right? But there's no, it wasn't too difficult. There's a reason for it. What Ding's looking at is he's looking at from his perspective in this position. He's looking at trying to occupy white squares. You might notice he's got his pawns on black squares. He's got all his pieces on white squares here, and he's trying to penetrate my position on white squares. The difference in the moves, pawn takes pawn, the best move, and knight takes pawn, is only minuscule. But the bar, the evaluation bar on the side of the board, says the position is now equal. Okay? So from a slight advantage, the world champion bot has gone equal, right? So from his slight advantage that he had a little earlier. So I captured the knight. Now, I have a reason for this, right? I want to open up the castle. You can see now I've activated the castle, right? Notice Ding has not got his castles activated, right? The engine gives me a question mark, exclamation mark, so it's an inaccuracy. The pawn takes back, okay? And it says advantage to black, right? But can the engine understand what I'm thinking, right? Is our evaluation the same? Well, we tend to differ a little bit, the engine and I. Pawn takes knight, star move, advantage to black, but it's only minuscule again. So I centralise my knight. Now, this is a very important move because in this position, it's really important because black has the extra space and his bishops are becoming a little bit more active, that what we do is we counterbalance in the centre. We've got to counterbalance. We can't lose our share of control in the centre. Hence, we put a knight smack dab in the centre. So Ding's looking at it. He's got that worried look that we saw in the Jan Nepomniachtchi match for the world title. But Ding is a master of staying cool, and no doubt the chess bot is the same mentality of Ding, right? It stays cool too. So he played knight to D3. Now, a lot of players would panic in a position like this, but notice the bar on the side of the board, the evaluation bar, says the position's equal. So do I panic? No. Do I capture the knight? No. Is the knight threatening something? Yes. The knight's threatening the castle and it's threatening the pawn. So when you are playing chess, these are the types of things that you have to do if you want to improve and play like moi. What you do is you've got to ask yourself those questions. Is the knight that you always look at what your opponent just made, what move they made. Are they threatening anything? Are there any captures? Are there any checks? Well, there are no checks. So the big threat is the capture of the castle and the pawn. And we play rook c2. Now the engine says I should take the knight, right? But my evaluation was different from that of the engine, and I decided not to take the knight. I thought, no, not just yet. If I need to take the knight, I can take it at any time, so no rush. That's another thing in chess. You must have patience. He played queen to d5. Now, in this position, you can no longer take the knight. Correct? That's right. If you take the knight now, the pawn will recapture. Right, I could show you this. Bishop takes knight. Pawn takes, and now white's lost. Can you see the bar? There's a checkmate threatened, and the castle's threatened, so you can't take the knight. So in this position, he plays queen d5. So what move would you play in this position? Well, I played bishop to c3. I ignored all his fancy moves, played the best move on the board, the star move, okay? And now it's up to him to make a move. It supports the knight too on d4, very important. So now black chooses bishop to a6. There's a reason for that. Ding has realised, the Ding bot's realised that I'm not going to open this line for his pieces against my king, and that I'm not stupid, right? I'm not stupid. I'm different from the rest. So I played rook to d2. Star move, that's right. I just improved the rook and the queen, all on the queen, putting inert pressure on the position, and I might choose to take the knight when I want to. At the moment, he can't even move the knight. So am I circling the knight? Am I trapping the knight? Well, I could be. He played rook on the A file to d8. Positions considered equal by the bot. Engine like bishop to c4 best, okay, with the idea of bishop here. Well, we played f3. We decided we don't want to look at that knight's face anymore. And now we're threatening with this breakthrough here. We're now threatening pawn takes pawn. We're threatening pawn takes pawn, and that would win the knight, right? Because his queen would be attacked, and the knight would fall. He would lose the knight. So what we've done effectively, we've done a Karpovian manoeuvring where we've just encircled the knight, never taken it when Ding wanted us to take it, but we put the position so that our opponent has to reply on our terms, not his. I can imagine he would be having his hands in his head like he did in the match, and he'd be going, oh, the master's too good, he knows what's going on, he understands chess. Anyway, he played f5. He decided, I don't want this young FIDE master drawing with the brand new world champion. So he decided he would reinforce the e4 square. So I just took the pawn off. I liquidated in the centre because what I'm doing is I'm manoeuvring around the board and just trying to cause difficulty in my opponent's game. He played pawn takes pawn. And now in this position, the bar says black is better. But is black better? Watch my next move. Rook takes rook check. That's right. So what first thing we do? What do? We eliminate some of the material on the board. Ding style. Take the pressure off. Ding can't stand pressure. Right. So I take the pressure off. I relieve it. But Ding always has a little smile on his face when, I noticed this in the match against Nepo, he always had a little smile on his face. He's always struggling when he hasn't got an advantage. But he has this little quirky little smile on his face when he gets an advantage. My idea is to wipe that smile off his face. So I remove the tension in the position. He recaptures with the rook, and so he should too. It's the star move, the best move, because by taking with the rook, or capturing with the rook, he now occupies the F file, okay? Very important in chess. And he's got a lovely knight there attacking my king, and a lot of people be worried, oh no, the world champion, he's coming at you, you know, like he's got all these pieces near your king, he's got the open file. But it's all about understanding the position. and for a long time I've declined to take the knight. But there's a reason for capturing the pawn and opening the f-file. It's because now it's time to take the knight. That's right. And you think, oh, but John, now the bishop comes in and he's threatening a big check to win your queen. Yeah, but there's an answer for that too. I didn't play rook to c1 and rook to c2 and rook to d2 for no reason. I was circling the dark squares. This game is a battle of squares. It's a battle of dark squares versus light squares. It's a battle of light versus dark, right? So here we go. We play rook to f2. Now this counters his whole attack. It makes his bishop inert. Inert, that's right, just like a piece of concrete. It's useless, right? It does nothing unless you can hit your opponent over the head with it. You're not allowed to do that in chess. Anyway, he took the rook off. It's the best move. And I recaptured with the king. Now, you might notice, oh, hold on a minute, things have changed, but they haven't changed that much. How does black penetrate? Well, black gives me a check, forces me back here, and now watch his next move. Bishop to g5. Star move, best move. Is black threatening anything? Examine all checks, examine all captures. Yes, we say he is threatening something. He's threatening to take the pawn with check, right? And if the king moves, he's got a pawn up. Well, that's a big threat. Now, there's a trap there. If you try to protect the pawn with the queen, he can still take a pawn with check, right? For if bishop takes pawn check, queen takes, and that's checkmate. So the world champion's trying to put little pressure on me, but I'm way ahead of him. I know his little tricks, right? So I simply play bishop to d2. Star move, best move, right? Exclamation mark. And now, has he got an advantage? No, he hasn't. Oh, the engine says he's got an advantage. Well, he played bishop back there. He decided, oh, that's not going to work. And now, oh, the engine did say he should play bishop here. There's not much difference. Play queen to e1. Now he can hit me with the bishop if he wants to, but it wouldn't help him much. The engine says he should hit me with the bishop, but he didn't. He played bishop g4. So I played queen to f2, and now I'm challenging the open file. He played bishop back, and now somehow he wants to play this move, bishop takes knight, but I just stopped it, right? I should play queen g3, best move, but there's not much difference in it. Now have a look at the bar on the side of the board again. We'll refer to that. The evaluation bar, very important when you're analysing a chess game. The bar says the position's now equal. So for all my shenanigans and his shenanigans of putting the bishop on d6 and me moving the rook around, circling his bishop like the American Indians would circle the wagon trains, the old West. Remember the old John Wayne movies? Here we go. I took his queen off. King takes, and now g3. If you watch my videos on YouTube, if you watch my any of my material on Twitch TV when I'm streaming, you'll see that one thing I'm very proud of, and that is my skills, my chess skills in the endgame. I always say, oh, I'm a 2400 plus endgame player. Well, for the purposes of this game, chess.com coach and artificial intelligence has rated me as 2,800, right? So there we go. So I must have played a good endgame. So we look at this position, we know that black wants to infiltrate with his king somehow. If he can get his king down there amongst my pawns or do some nasty stuff. Well, he played king f6. I played king f2. And star move, best move. So I'm going to show you how I play the endgame like Carlsen. Watch this. He played G6. I played knight to E2. He took the knight. Star move, best move. I offered him the knight on purpose. Why? Because I've done super calculation. Bishop takes, bishop check. That's right, the important intermezzo. The intermezzo to capture the bishop with check. But look at his king when he recaptures, and my king. He's got the advantage of the advanced king in this position. He's got the advanced king. But I've calculated all this against Ding Liren, the World Chess Championship bot, right? I've calculated everything. And I know all about the chess rules, endgame rules of long distance opposition and cutting off keys access squares and stuff like that, right? So here, obviously black's main threats would be king here, 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 and take a pawn. Or king here, here, squash you and take a pawn. He played king here. He wants to squash me. He wants to play king here, wins. If he can play king there, he wins. So we stop him, don't we? That's right. We've stopped him. We've stopped Ding Liren. That's what we've done. So he can't penetrate. Notice the pawn covers this square and this pawn covers that square of his key entry squares. Now there's another technique that he could use in this position to try to win. Right? There's another technique like A5 and A4. It'd be very, very dangerous if you pushed a pawn over here and ignored A5 and A4, where he could penetrate the position, break up the pawns and get access to the C4 square, come in and rip off all the pawns. He played H5. Apparently king C5 was the best move, but the engine is saying that the position's equal in the assessment. I played H3. So have a look at this. In this position, this complicated position, and it is complicated. This is very, very complicated position, and you've got 2 pawn moves. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 king moves. 4 king moves that you can make, and another 2 pawn moves over there. So you've got 4, 6, 8 moves that you can make with very few pieces on the board. But we found the best move, H3. Again, another simple technique, making sure he can't penetrate on the white squares on this side nor that side, and leaving it up to Ding to try to find a way to penetrate the position. And he plays A6. Like a true world chess champion, he plays the best move on the board. He's rated 2,800 himself. That's his chess performance for the game. His performance was 2,800. So we both performed at 2,800. I played king to D7, D2, to get long distance opposition against his king. He played B5. Right. Now, if you play a move like pawn here, you probably lose. So I played king C3 to stop his king gaining entrance to any of these squares, right? He can't get entrance. He played pawn there, and now here I played A4. Now it's a very important move because if he takes the pawn over here, I would just recapture with the pawn, and he can't penetrate because my king would just go backwards and forwards like that, right? Backwards and forwards. Okay. So he gave me a check. Now, once Ding gives me this check, I know that my king, his king can never get in, never ever get in past those 2 pawns because the pawns are no longer flexible. So there's only one one way that the ding can win, and that's on the other side of the board over here, right? This is totally closed off now. So now I can move my king back. It's done its job of holding ding back. And so now my king has done its job. And then now he starts to move over to the other side. He can't win on the queen side. So he's going over there to the king side. So I moved my king to the king side. Star move, best move. There were two best moves. King E1 was also a best move. He played king there. That's an admission there's nothing he could do. And I played king to F2. Star move, best move. There was two best moves again. I found one of them. He played king there. He's going for some sort of baiting technique. I played king here. Now, there's a reason for all this. If he ever tries pawn here, I can just push past. He can't penetrate the pawn structure. And if he tries with pawn here and pawn here, well, I just push this pawn up here, right? Okay. So then he just played pawn there to try to restrict me, but it's in this position. I played pawn there. G5, star move, best move. And now he can never get his king in here. He can never get his king in here because the pawn's blocking. He can't move into check. And of course he can't enter through check here, and he can't get through there. So that means the position is totally blocked. So he pushed the pawn, and you know what? This program would not give me a draw, and we went to play on like this. Just move our kings around. He can't penetrate. I just moved backwards and forwards, and we did this for quite some time because Ding didn't like the fact that he had a draw on his hands, and the game went on and on and on and on until finally a draw was agreed by the 50 move rule. That's how hard the game was against the world champion. He played right through to the king and pawn 50 move rule. So I really hope that you enjoyed this wonderful game. It was a battle of the minds, and he didn't crack this mind. I once worked with a former chief of detectives, and he said to me, he said, "John," he said, "you have a mind like a steel trap." That's what he said to me. And I was really proud of that. I took that as a compliment. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Please thumbs up if you liked the video. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. It's free to subscribe on YouTube. And if you want to make a donation to my channel, in the description of the game, there's a link to my PayPal, and any donation would really help support me creating this type of content for you in future. Okay, in the past, a few people have made a small donation, and if everybody was to make a donation of even $1 on PayPal, well, it would make a huge difference to me. But unfortunately, times are tough. I know that. I'm going to leave you now, leave you and love you. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from my good friend too, my co-analysis, my help in chess, my love, the love of my life, Grandmaster Teddy. Thank you. Goodbye.